What's up? Alright. Metroidvanias are probably something I'll always try to play, and it is one of my top two genres of games I enjoy. If you add platforming to the game, then I will find a way to spend more hours in the game than there is content to explore. So when it comes to a lot of Metroidvania games, the story tends not to be the greatest, but there are some gems when the story is amazing. I tend to focus on the gameplay and the platformer aspect, and if there is much of a challenge. The sad thing is that a lot of Metroidvania games that have platforming aren't really that challenging, are easy to overcome after a few tries. I love when there is a blend between platform and combat because then you will have to learn the platforming aspect and combat for the game. Now, if your brain doesn't work with having to deal with two things at once, then this may sound daunting. Then again, just because I like it, that doesn't mean I don't get frustrated when I don't get those fights in a few tries. If you have watched my OG streams when I played Hollow Knight, you have seen my love for that game. Hollow Knight has amazing and memorable characters that all have their own stories that you have to seek out, and then adds to your own story. Add all the different platforming challenges and the fact that you can have different builds, and that makes a good game for me. I believe that Hollow Knight unlocked my love for challenging platformers because at the end of the tunnel, you usually get something rewarding. Again, I like platformers that actually make you time your jumps, because in a lot of platformers, the jump is just a standard action. I feel like I said something that made absolutely no sense, but I will explain that right now. So, in a lot of platformers, your jump is your main action. The way you jump is pivotal in progressing. That means you need to have a sensitive jump to make certain platforms, otherwise it would be boring if the jump reacted the same way. So the usual way that the jump works is that if you press it quickly, you do a very small jump. If you hold the jump button, then you do a long jump. That means you have to time the jump perfectly to make it to the next platform. If you don't, then you might have to reset and attempt it again. To me, having to time a perfect jump, also having to aim a perfect hit during a fight, makes everything more frustrating. Rewarding once you win. Now, the game we're talking about today is Under That Scope, which is why I enjoy playing that game. The game is called Lone Fungus, and you are the lone fungus in the world. You have to go throughout this vast world and find a way to the surface. Before you do that, you have to collect powers. I am not going to say what the reason you need to reach the surface is, but you can probably guess why. Now, this game kind of splits into three things, weirdly enough, which is platforming challenges, gameplay, and story. There's also a way to change out your mushroom top where you do certain things, and also small quests with statues that are placed throughout the world. For what I saw, changing out the mushroom tops were just a glamour look and did nothing, but maybe I missed something because of how big the game is. Also, you are usually changing out your chop, which isn't called that, by the way, because that is how you use your abilities. You have to switch them out in order to use abilities in order to progress the world or get items. Some quests can work with certain tops if you show them to certain statues or talk to them and find out where to go for certain items. Before we talk about the three categories I talked about, I'll address something that is crucial for games like this: the map. I talked about Hollow Knight, and if you played the game, you probably seen the map. If I were to compare Hollow Knight's map and Lone Fungus's, I would pick Hollow Knight, but that shouldn't deter you from this game. Now, the best part of this game's map is that it is vast and offers a good amount of enemy types in the map, but truthfully, the map kind of only really offers platforming challenges and items. Now, before a witch hunt is formed, I'm called stupid. Let me offer an example. In Hollow Knight, you are given two things from hitting/killing enemies. The first thing is focus, which can allow you to heal up or use your magic abilities. The second thing is in-game currency. You can be used to buy things that can enhance your gameplay and change how you move throughout the world. In Lone Fungus, depending on your build, you can use enemies in order to have more gauges to heal yourself, or use it for different abilities. Sadly, that is it. Which after I realized that I tried to just speedrun through areas, failed because enemies always found a way to hit me. I also wish there was some sort of toughness emblem that reduced attacks, so that you don't lose one bar of health from getting hit once. Also, the map was fun to explore. It was nice to complete as much as you can in each area. There are secrets to explore and find in every area, but it's not necessary to do to complete the game. So there are two platforming challenges in the game. One is in the world that can give you different items once you complete the challenge. The second challenge is presented once you go through a door located in the world, and completing the challenge gives you a shard, and I have no idea what happens once you collect all the shards. Other platform challenges, and attempted many of them that I found throughout the game, and I stopped some of the runs because at one point that was all I was doing. When I say that was all I was doing, that is exactly what I was doing. I would fight a boss, try out a new ability, and then run into a challenge that seemed interesting. I wouldn't give up unless I knew that there was no possible way I would be able to complete it, and I believe I only gave up on one that was doable because I wanted to complete the game at a certain point. Also, this game decides to be more challenging than it needs to be by implementing bans of certain abilities. The thing that they also do to make the game tougher on platforming challenges is combining the double jump and the dash. No, that doesn't mean you double jump and dash at the same time, but that they share the same usage timer. Okay, I didn't explain this shit right. The double jump is called the upward dash, or something similar. Then you have the sideway dash. So the reason the game makes it difficult on you is that you only have one charge of dash, and even though there are ways to refresh your dash while in the air, that isn't always present in challenges. Most platforming games have a double jump and a dash that are completely different inputs. That makes it so you can make jumps that wouldn't be possible unless you have certain abilities like double jump and dash unlocked. The reason why this game makes it hard on players like me is because most of the dash and double jump mechanics are usually muscle memory. So when you have to do these challenges, you may press upward dash instead of dash, and that will continue until you overcome your muscle memory. You basically have to fight against yourself in order to win in these certain challenges, which is a fun experience. But I also feel like because of this, it helps new players to the genre. I say that, but truthfully, unless you have experience with platformers, you probably wouldn't care enough for the challenges, unless you are someone that loves to be challenged in platforming. But the certain challenges that ban certain abilities makes you think on your feet on what to do adds a lot without making things too cruel. I think there was only one type of challenge I noped, which involved you having to downward slash onto a rotating chain, and having to know when the different chains come up involved too much brain power. In total, if you are a lover of platformers and want to be challenged because your current platforms aren't as challenging, then I would say try your hand at this. The second category is gameplay, and weirdly enough, if you just have enough willpower, you can kind of beat bosses without having to use any different abilities besides your slash. I say this because I only faced a handful of bosses and felt like using my abilities because I felt it wasn't really necessary. Now, if this game had an RPG bar, which separated MP and HP recovery usage, then I would have used my abilities more. In this game, you have to decide if you want to heal or use the ability, and as you progress in the game, you'll find things that passively recovers your MP, and also ways to get it faster by hitting enemies. I also have to say bosses are challenging, and that you don't do enough damage to outright speedrun them, and there is a major problem when it comes to boss fights. So a lot of Metroidvanias give you very little breathing room when it comes to the fights, and you basically have to find times to heal. Usually I would try to find times to heal, but was usually on the regretful side of the spectrum. I would just get constantly hit once I thought I was in a good spot to heal, and I wish there was a better way to circumvent getting hit. That way would be the parry system that the game implements, but I only got 3 charges of parry before it had to recharge. I may have missed a better parry option that would have been more preferred for my playstyle, and I say this as someone that tends to take dodge over parry. When it comes to games like this, when bumping into an enemy counts as a hit, you kind of need to either rely on a parry or find a way to not touch them at all. That's hard to do when a lot of these fights are in a tight area, and the boss is utilizing all of it to move around. I would say to look at all the different parry options and see which one is best for your gameplay, because I only kept the one I chose because I got used to it. I also said earlier that you can progress these fights without using abilities because your MP is used to heal and use abilities. So what exactly did I use abilities for if not for the boss fights? And that was to progress the world. There are certain obstacles set up that you won't be able to get through without using certain abilities. I wish there was a separate bar to recharge your health and use your abilities so that way you can have different ways to fight. Truthfully, there is a way to use abilities without having to worry about healing up, and that would be to get good. You wouldn't have to worry about healing if you never get hit. But I'm not good enough to do all that. The last category is probably going to be the shortest topic of discussion, which is the story. You can definitely feel the love and hard work that was given into making this game. The voice acting gave characters so much depth, but it was voice acting in a language that isn't understandable to us mortals. So you still have to read it out loud if you plan to stream this game. By that I mean, you hear the character's language, but it is translated neatly in captions for us to understand. So the story in the game is pretty simple. It isn't anything to write home about because it is very predictable where the story is heading. Like I said, there's so much work done to make this world work, and also to have all these platforming challenges, that I believe that the story took a backseat. Again, that is my opinion, so people may have a different opinion compared to me, but I feel like the story isn't that strong. Just because the story isn't strong, that doesn't take anything away from the game because the story doesn't need to be strong. The exploration and the platforming are the things that need to be strong to make this game likable. I also said that this was going to be a short category because I explained this story in the beginning of the video. You can basically tell how the story will unfold within the first few hours of playing. I say this because there isn't really any other way for it to progress with the information given to you. In closing, the game is fun. It gives you a ton of platforming challenges that adds hours to gameplay. You have a fun and adorable character that you pilot through the game as you grow in power through your adventure in this world. Exploration is a big part of the game, and you miss out on a lot if you decide to not explore and map out every aspect of this game. If you don't worry about the story aspect of the game not being strong, then you will have a fun time. We'll have to preface that if you don't like platformers and Metroidvanias, this game isn't for you. So don't get mad if you saw this review and thought to yourself, you will have fun. If you are having a hard time at the challenges, you can stop doing them until you get more movement abilities. But truthfully, key gameplay challenges aren't hard enough that you should drop the game. Attempt this game if you like a challenge, if you like the genre. But like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. If you played this game or plan to buy it, tell me how you felt about it. My name is Only the Incubus, and I will see you all in the next one. Anyway, hope you all have an amazing day and an amazing week. That has been my time. I'll see you all soon. Later days. Love you all. Bye. Mwah. 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 All kisses consensually. Bye. Love you. Peace.